Some truths are too fragile for the world, too raw, too powerful, too easily misunderstood by minds that have never wandered beyond the borders of their own conditioning. When a person begins to awaken spiritually, not in the decorative sense, not in the aesthetic sense, but in the trembling, irreversible way Alan Watts spoke of, they discover insights that do not belong to ordinary conversation. Insights that change the way you see people, the way you see yourself, the way you see reality itself. But here's the paradox the awakened eventually learn the hard way. The more awake you become, the less you can share. Not because you want to hide, not because you're secretive, but because certain truths cannot survive exposure to an unconscious audience. Speak them openly, and they get mocked. Reveal them carelessly, and they get twisted. Share them with the wrong person, and you get punished for seeing too deeply. People fear what they don't understand, and nothing triggers a sleeping mind more violently than the presence of someone who has woken up. You start to notice the shift, how people grow uneasy when you talk about detachment, how they become defensive when you speak about illusion, how they accuse you of being cold when you begin to see through the emotional games everyone else plays. Awakening doesn't make you special, it makes you responsible. It forces you to guard the truths that others are not ready to carry. There are things you've seen about yourself, about relationships, about society, about consciousness that should never be handed to those who are still sleeping. Because awakening is not entertainment. It is dismantling. It is death before rebirth. It is a stripping away of everything false. And if someone hasn't reached that point yet, your truth will not liberate them. It will frighten them. It will confuse them. It will make them resent you. So yes, if you're spiritually awakening, there are certain things you must never reveal, not to protect them, but to protect yourself. And if you want to understand these truths with the depth they deserve, stay with me. And if you're new here and this kind of raw, unfiltered psychology is exactly why you found solace, subscribe so you never walk this path alone. The depth they cannot comprehend. The first thing an awakened person realizes, often painfully, often too late, is that depth is not a universal language. Not everyone can understand you. Not everyone is meant to. And not everyone should. Depth is a burden to the mind that has never traveled inward. What feels natural to you, questioning, observing, peeling back layers, seeking the root beneath the root, feels threatening to those who've built their identity on unquestioned habits and borrowed thoughts. You don't try to be deep, you simply are. You see the world in layers where others see flat surfaces. You sense motives beneath words. You feel the tension behind smiles. You recognize patterns before people even realize they're repeating them. But here's what awakening teaches you quickly. Most people don't want depth. They want reinforcement. They want familiarity. They want comfort. They want emotional routines that confirm what they already believe. And depth disrupts all of that. When you begin to awaken, your perception expands so rapidly that it creates a psychological distance between you and the people you once felt close to. Conversations that once felt meaningful begin to feel flimsy, hollow, predictable. Topics that used to excite you now feel like distractions. Interactions start to reveal themselves as unconscious scripts, people saying what they've been conditioned to say, reacting the way they've been trained to react, never questioning the autopilot running their entire inner world. You begin to see the machinery of the psyche, the fears, the wounds, the insecurities, the projections, all the parts people hide from themselves every single day. But if you speak about these things openly, you'll be treated as though you're tearing a curtain they're not ready to look behind. Because depth isn't just misunderstood, it's often rejected. You may have felt this already. You try to express a genuine insight, something that came from years of inner work, perhaps from meditation, reflection, or a moment of piercing awareness. And the room goes quiet. People shift in their seats. Someone makes a joke to break the tension. Someone else changes the subject. Another tells you you're thinking too much. This is the unconscious mind defending itself. You haven't said anything wrong. You've said something true. And truth is often unbearable for those who live inside illusions they are not ready to lose. People don't reject your depth because it's wrong. They reject it because it reveals something inside them they don't want to meet. Your presence itself becomes a mirror, and most people cannot stand their own reflection. This is why Alan Watts insisted that certain realizations must be held quietly, not hidden in fear, but protected in wisdom. You can't teach someone what their consciousness is not mature enough to absorb. You can't accelerate someone into a state they haven't earned. You can't drag someone into the depth you discovered through your own suffering. Awakening demands that you stop treating your insights as public gifts. They are not. They are sacred. And sacred things decay in unworthy hands. This is one of the first truths you must never reveal: the full depth of your inner world. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's wasted on those who have never stepped inward. If you try to give depth to someone who hasn't built the emotional or psychological structure to hold it, they won't grow from it. They will collapse around it. And worse, they will blame you for the discomfort they feel. You become too intense, too serious, too sensitive, too complicated, too much. But what they really mean is, you make me aware of things I'm trying to avoid. You see through the layers I use to protect myself. You perceive truths I'm not ready to confront. Your depth is not the problem, their shallowness is. People who fear introspection will always distrust the one who embodies it. So you learn to speak less, observe more, and reserve your insights for people who have earned the right to hear them. This is not elitism. It is emotional self-preservation. Because depth shared with the wrong person becomes a weapon against you. They misinterpret you. They project onto you. They twist your meaning. They label you. They shrink you so they don't have to expand. And what they cannot understand, they will attempt to invalidate. So you begin to protect your inner world quietly, gently, not out of defensiveness, but out of respect for the intelligence that took you years to uncover. Awakening sharpens your perception, but it also teaches restraint, because the awakened mind is not compelled to prove anything. It simply knows, and knowing is enough. As your depth grows, your circle shrinks, your conversations change, your energy becomes more refined. You stop sharing everything you see, because you understand that not every mind is ready to look through your eyes. And the strangest thing happens. Your silence becomes more powerful than your explanations ever were. People begin to sense that you know something they can't quite grasp, something unsettling, something profound, something they are not ready to ask about. This is the burden of the awakened. This is the gift of the awakened. And this is why the first thing you must never reveal is the depth of what you truly see. Because depth is not meant to be shared. It is meant to be recognized by those who share it with you. The pain you carried to awaken. Barrett, every awakened person carries a story that the world will never fully understand. A story of breaking, a story of losing oneself, a story of dissolving into places most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Awakening is not born from comfort. It is not born from success. It is not born from achievement or praise or any of the glittering illusions society loves to celebrate. Awakening grows in darkness. It emerges in the cracks where everything familiar collapses. It grows from loneliness so deep you begin to question your own existence. It grows from pain so sharp it pierces the identity you once believed was indestructible. It grows from the nights where sleep avoids you because your mind refuses to stop showing you the truth you were not ready to see. The awakened rarely choose the path. The path chooses them, through suffering. This is why one of the greatest secrets you must never reveal is the story of how you awakened. Because the world romanticizes awakening, but it does not understand what it truly costs. You can tell people you meditate. You can tell them you reflect. You can tell them you journal, practice mindfulness, listen to Alan Watts, read philosophy. But you cannot tell them about the night you broke, the night your identity dissolved, the moment the person you thought you were simply disappeared, the moment you realized that everything you believed was nothing more than a psychological costume, the moment you understood you were not living, you were performing. You cannot tell them about the despair that pushed you inward. You cannot tell them about the voices of doubt that hollowed you out. You cannot tell them about the emotional collapse that forced you to surrender your illusions, because the unawakened have no framework to understand that level of internal destruction. They translate your transformation into weakness because they have never dissolved. They mistake your breakthrough for instability because they have never reached the edge of their own mind. They interpret your depth as trauma because pain, to them, is something to avoid, not something to transcend. People assume awakening is a gentle sunrise. They never imagine the storm that comes before it, and if you try to explain it, you become alien to them. The world does not understand the kind of pain that makes you change. Not change your habits, not change your goals, but change your being. You lived through nights that could have destroyed you. You lived through moments that could have broken your sense of reality. You lived through fear that felt like drowning inside your own consciousness, but you survived. Not by fighting, but by surrendering. This is what awakening demands, the death of resistance. You must let go of the world you built from fear and identity and pretense. You must let go of the self that was shaped by the expectations of others. You must let go of the beliefs you swallowed without questioning. You must let go of the illusions you once used as shelter. Letting go is not peaceful. It is violent. It tears parts of you away even as it liberates you. And the world does not want to know how much you had to die to learn how to live. They want the glow. They don't want the ashes. They want the wisdom. They don't want the wounds. They want the transformation. They don't want the destruction that made it possible. If you reveal your suffering to those who are still asleep, they will pity you instead of respecting your evolution. They will judge you instead of understanding your strength. They will pathologize your awakening because they do not know that the psyche must break before it expands. This is why this truth must be protected, because what you survived was sacred. It was the initiation that separated you from the unconscious. It was the moment the veil lifted and the world began to appear as it truly is. People will hear your suffering and think you are fragile, but awakening through suffering creates a strength that cannot be manufactured through comfort. The unawakened fear suffering because they believe it destroys them. The awakened understand suffering because they know it reshapes them. This is why you never reveal the depth of the pain that awakened you. It is not for them to interpret. It is not for them to label. It is not for them to understand. Your suffering is the fire that burned away who you were not. It is the path that led you into the truth. It is the initiation that makes you see the world differently. And if you share it with someone blind to their own wounds, they will turn your story into a mirror for their denial. They will try to convince you that you were wrong to change, wrong to grow, wrong to question, wrong to become someone they can no longer predict. So you learn to carry your suffering quietly, not out of shame, but out of reverence. Your pain was your teacher. Your pain was your gateway. Your pain was the catalyst that broke you open and made room for truth. It deserves respect, not interpretation. And most of all, it deserves privacy, because the world cannot hold what you carried alone. Barth you see behind people. Prohibited, one of the most jarring parts of awakening is not what you learn about yourself. It's what you begin to see in others. Not their opinions, not their personalities, not their curated identities, but their inner architecture, their wounds, their projections, their insecurities, their illusions, their masks. Once you awaken, you stop relating to who people pretend to be and start seeing who they really are. And this vision, this piercing, involuntary clarity, is something you must never reveal openly. Because nothing terrifies the unconscious mind more than someone who can see through it. Before awakening, you interacted with people on the level everyone else does. Surface to surface, persona to persona, mask to mask. But after awakening, you begin to sense the emotional shadows behind every word. You read tone, micro-expressions, hesitations, energy shifts with a precision that feels unnatural even to you. Someone says they're fine, but the tension in their voice screams otherwise. Someone insists they're confident, but their body language reveals fear. Someone claims they've moved on, but their eyes betray unresolved grief. Someone plays the role of superiority, but you feel the insecurity dripping beneath it. You begin to hear the stories they don't want to tell. You feel the battles they don't admit they're fighting. You recognize the lies they tell themselves even more clearly than the lies they tell the world. But here's the rule the awakened must learn. Just because you can see it does not mean you should say it. Awakened sight is a responsibility, not a weapon. If you expose someone's hidden truth before they're ready to face it, you don't liberate them. You destroy their psychological defenses. And defenses exist for a reason. People build illusions because reality is too overwhelming to face all at once. They cling to denial because truth requires courage they have not yet cultivated. They craft identities to shield themselves from vulnerability. They project their inner chaos outward because they cannot survive holding it inside. When you awaken, you see all of this instantly. But they cannot. Not yet. And if you reveal this insight to an unprepared mind, they will not thank you. They will not understand you. They will not awaken with you. They will attack you for seeing something they aren't ready to see. They will feel exposed. They will feel threatened. They will feel judged. They will feel stripped of the illusions they depend on. To the unawakened, truth is not enlightenment. It is violence. This is why the awakened are careful with their words. Not because they fear speaking truth, but because they respect the timing required for someone to receive it. Alan Watts understood this intimately. He often said that awakening is like watching someone else's dream from the outside. You can see what they cannot, but you cannot force them to wake up. Their dream is their reality. Their illusions are their oxygen. Their narratives are their psychological walls. And if you tear those walls down before they have built emotional resilience, You do not free them, you shatter them. So you learn to observe silently. You learn to guide indirectly. You learn to hint, not expose. Because raw truth, when given to an unready mind, feels like an attack on identity. Another reason you must hide the truth you see behind people is because the awakened mind perceives manipulation instantly. You see the motives behind kindness. You see the insecurity behind cruelty. You see the calculation behind charm. You see the fear behind arrogance. You see the longing behind detachment. You see the wounds behind anger. People do not enjoy being read this accurately. Most relationships operate on a mutually accepted ignorance. I won't expose your shadows if you don't expose mine. But once awakened, you've unconsciously broken this pact. You see too much. Not because you want to, because you cannot unsee it anymore. The moment a person enters the room, you feel their emotional landscape. You sense the fractures, the contradictions, the ego games they think they're hiding. Even their silence speaks. But if you comment on this clarity, if you reveal you can see what they're desperately trying to conceal, you'll trigger a defensive storm you never intended to create. People do not fear being misunderstood. They fear being understood too accurately. Being misunderstood preserves their illusions, but being understood exposes their truth. And truth, to the unready, feels like danger. This is why the awakened must learn the art of restraint, seeing everything, revealing nothing. Your perception is not meant to be displayed. It is meant to be used wisely. Awakened minds do not speak to prove awareness. They speak to offer presence. They speak to illuminate gently. They speak to guide subtly. Power is quiet because real insight does not seek recognition. The truth you see behind people is also dangerous to share because it changes the dynamic. If someone realizes you can see through them, they will behave differently around you. They will feel exposed and try to regain control, either by distancing themselves or overcompensating with emotional theatrics. They may try to manipulate you in more subtle ways. They may grow suspicious, paranoid even, because they know you can perceive what they desperately hide. Your awareness becomes a burden to them because it threatens the psychological identity they built for survival. This is why awakened individuals often become the confidant everyone turns to, yet the outsider no one fully welcomes. You become a refuge and a threat simultaneously. People come to you for clarity they cannot reach, for comfort they cannot give themselves, for insight they cannot find inwardly. But they keep you at a distance because your perception makes them feel naked. This contradiction is the social cost of awakening, and the solution is not to dim your perception, but to guard it, to use your insight wisely, to speak when needed, to remain silent when necessary, to guide without exposing, to understand without revealing, to see without announcing. Because the truth you see behind people is not meant to be wielded. It is meant to be honored. Eventually, you learn that awakening is not about exposing illusions. It is about respecting the journey of those still living inside them. You cannot rip someone out of the dream they depend on. You cannot force awareness into a mind that isn't prepared. You cannot accelerate someone into a truth they haven't earned. If you try, you don't awaken them, you traumatize them. So the awakened speak in layers. You offer fragments of truth that meet people where they are. You choose words carefully, not to hide, but to preserve. You do not reveal everything you see. You reveal only what someone's consciousness is ready to receive. This is not manipulation. This is compassion. The truth is medicine. But like medicine, it must be given in the right dosage. Too much destroys, too soon overwhelms, too quickly blinds. The awakened understand this. The unawakened do not. And that is why this truth, the truth you see behind people, must remain guarded. It is too powerful to be spoken carelessly, too dangerous to be shared widely, too potent to be placed in hands that would use it unconsciously. It belongs only to those who can carry it without collapsing. The freedom you gained from letting go. One of the most unsettling realizations that arrives with awakening is how much you had to release to become who you are now. Not just people, not just habits, not just memories, but entire versions of yourself. Versions you once clung to as if they were the only thing keeping you from falling apart. Letting go is not graceful for the awakened. It is not poetic. It is not a soft surrender wrapped in spiritual language. It is a tearing, a shedding, a dismantling of attachments you didn't realize were chains. But here's the paradox. While letting go gives you freedom, that freedom cannot be explained to someone who has never released anything that mattered to them. This is why the awakened never reveal the true extent of what they've let go of, because people still living in attachment cannot comprehend the cost or the liberation. When you start to awaken, you begin to see how much of your life was built on unconscious holding on to relationships that drained you, holding on to expectations that suffocated you, holding on to beliefs handed to you by others, holding on to identities that were never yours, holding on to the need to be understood, liked, approved of, validated. Your awakening required a systematic unraveling of these attachments. Some fell away easily. Some clung to you like vines digging into your skin. Some broke off violently and left scars so deep only silence could heal them. But you survived the unraveling, and what emerged after the shedding was a version of you lighter, quieter, less entangled with the world's expectations. This freedom is sacred and extremely misunderstood. When people hear the word freedom, they imagine rebellion, recklessness, a release from responsibility. But awakened freedom is nothing like that. It is not the freedom to escape life. It is the freedom to stop escaping yourself. Once you've tasted this type of liberation, you can never attach the way you once did. Not because you're cold, not because you're afraid, but because you now understand how heavy attachment becomes when it's rooted in fear. You let go because holding on was deforming you. But if you reveal this truth to someone who still clings desperately to their attachments, they will misunderstand your liberation as avoidance. They'll label your detachment as indifference. They'll call your boundaries selfish, your peace arrogance, your stillness emptiness. People who have never let go cannot understand how letting go can become an act of love instead of abandonment. They think you're running away from people when you're actually running back to yourself. This is why awakened individuals rarely speak openly about what they've released. Because to the unawakened, letting go looks like loss. But to the awakened, letting go is resurrection. The freedom you gained also makes you unpredictable to those who expect consistency from your old self. When you let go of past versions of you, you stop playing the roles others assigned you. You stop participating in emotional dynamics that drained your spirit. You stop tolerating conversations that shrink your consciousness. You stop living inside the narratives other people wrote for you. This confuses them. It even angers them. They say you've changed, as if it's an accusation. They say you've grown distant, as if it's betrayal. They say you've become quiet, as if silence is a crime. But all that really happened is that you stopped betraying yourself to belong somewhere you'd already outgrown. And if you try to explain this freedom to someone still enslaved by their own attachments, it will sound like selfishness to them. Not because your freedom is selfish, but because they can only interpret life through the lens of their own captivity. People who identify with their chains view the free as dangerous. This is why your liberation must remain private, not hidden, simply protected. You do not owe the world an explanation for the peace you fought to earn. Another reason the awakened keep their freedom quiet is because letting go reveals truths that are unsettling to those who haven't faced themselves. You discover that most relationships are built on mutual avoidance. People cling to each other not out of genuine connection, but out of fear of being alone. They stay in friendships that drain them because the alternative is facing their empty internal world. They stay in social circles that don't resonate because belonging gives them identity. They stay loyal to beliefs that harm them because changing would require questioning everything. When you let go of these illusions, you begin to see the world from outside the emotional web everyone else is tangled in. This vision is not meant to be shared lightly. If you tell someone that their relationships are attachments, they will feel attacked. If you tell someone that their suffering comes from refusing to release what hurts them, they will call you insensitive. If you tell someone that your letting go brought you peace, they will feel judged for holding on. So the awakened keep their freedom quiet because truth without readiness creates resistance, not liberation. Alan Watts often said that awakening is like peeling an onion. The deeper you go, the more layers you shed. And the more you realize that the self you thought you were was just a collection of layers that never belonged to you. But if someone is still clinging to every layer of their identity, your shedding terrifies them. Your freedom feels like a threat to the structure of their world. This is why the awakened speak less and observe more. Not because they're withdrawn, but because they understand that truth has timing. Every person awakens in their own season. You cannot accelerate a soul that is not yet ready to dissolve. The most profound aspect of your freedom is the space it opens within you. A space for stillness that no longer frightens you. A space for solitude that feels nourishing rather than lonely. A space for intuition to finally speak clearly. A space for inner alignment guide you more accurately than anyone else could. A space for peace that feels like coming home after a lifetime of wandering. This inner space is the heart of awakening. It is the sanctuary where your consciousness settles into its true form. But try explaining this to someone who fills every silence with distraction, every emotion with stimulation, every day with noise, and they will stare at you blankly. They cannot imagine that freedom could be found not in doing more, but in holding less. You cannot teach emptiness to those afraid of their own internal noise. You cannot teach letting go to those who believe attachment is proof of love. You cannot teach stillness to those who fear what silence reveals. So you guard your freedom as gently as you guard your pain. And in doing so, you grow into yourself more fully than ever before. Letting go gave you a life that feels authentic for the first time. But such authenticity cannot be explained to everyone. Some truths are meant to be lived, not spoken. The power your silence now holds. As you move deeper into awakening, you begin to notice something strange. Your silence is no longer empty. It's no longer passive. It's no longer the space between words. Your silence becomes a force. Not a weapon, not a threat, not a performance, a presence. A kind of grounded stillness that unsettles those who depend on noise to avoid themselves. Before awakening, silence felt like absence. The absence of conversation, the absence of connection, the absence of comfort. But now, your silence feels like fullness. a fullness of awareness, a fullness of perception, a fullness of truth that doesn't need to be spoken to be understood. Silence becomes your power, because silence is where awakening lives. And this is why the awakened must guard their silence carefully. Once people sense that your silence holds more weight than their words, they react in ways you could never predict. You start to notice the shift in simple interactions. People speak, and you don't rush to fill the space. They ask questions, and you answer without excess. They complain, and you don't feed the fire. They hint for validation, and you don't validate by reflex. You simply stay present, centered, unafraid of the emptiness they're trying to avoid. This presence unsettles them, because silence from an awakened person is not passive, it is reflective. People see themselves in your silence, their insecurity, their exaggerations, their projections, their contradictions. They feel exposed not because you revealed anything, but because you didn't. Most people rely on noise to maintain their illusions. They use words to hide. They use conversation as camouflage. They use constant talking to avoid hearing what their inner world is whispering. But your silence removes their shield. It makes them aware of the parts of themselves they refuse to face, so they react emotionally. They accuse you of being distant, cold, detached, judgmental, superior. But the truth is simpler. Your silence forces them to confront their own reflection, and reflection is unbearable to the unawakened mind. This is why Alan Watts often warned about the quiet strength of those who have awakened. Awakened silence doesn't weaken a conversation, it transforms it. It redirects it. It reveals its underlying structure. Your silence becomes a mirror that shows the truth behind every interaction. You can see when someone is speaking to fill a void. You can see when they're trying to gain approval. You can see when they're performing. You can see when they're lying, especially to themselves. And though you see all of this, you say nothing, because silence has taught you that truth does not need to be announced to be powerful. People can feel it, even if they can't explain why. This power becomes even more noticeable in conflict. Before awakening, you defended yourself. You explained yourself. You over-communicated to avoid tension or misunderstanding. You tried to maintain harmony even when it cost your own peace. But now you understand the value of silence in moments of emotion. You don't react impulsively. You don't match someone else's intensity. You don't allow yourself to be dragged into drama that's rooted in another person's wounds. Your silence becomes a boundary stronger than any argument, and the person confronting you feels it. They can sense that you're not participating in the emotional script they expected you to follow. They can sense that you won't fight within the frame they created. They can sense that you are not held hostage by the same egoic impulses that control them. This terrifies people, because emotional chaos loses its power in the presence of someone who refuses to feed it. Your silence reveals their emotional immaturity, and no one enjoys being exposed in this way. So they escalate. They push harder. They try to provoke a reaction. They attempt to break your stillness so they can feel in control again. This is why the awakened must never reveal the full power of their silence. People will weaponize it against you if they realize you're operating from a place they cannot reach. It's safer to let them think you're quiet rather than powerful. Awakened silence also transforms relationships. You stop needing to overshare. You stop needing to over-explain. You stop needing to be understood. You stop needing to fill space with meaningless chatter just to maintain connection. Your silence becomes selective, intentional, precious. You speak only when something matters. You share only when it's genuine. You reveal only what someone has earned. You conserve your energy because you now understand its value. This confuses people who equate silence with emotional withdrawal, but you're not withdrawing. You're conserving. You're choosing. You're honoring the voice that once drowned in unnecessary noise. When your silence becomes conscious, your words become sacred. And people begin to notice that when you do speak, your words cut deeper, carry further, and reveal more than entire conversations from others. This is the paradox of the awakened mind. The less you speak, the more you are heard. Your silence is also a sanctuary, a place where intuition grows, a place where awareness deepens, a place where clarity arises without effort, a place where you can hear the faint whisper of your inner truth that was once smothered by the world's demands. Silence becomes the environment where you evolve. It becomes the soil of your consciousness. It becomes the place where your real identity begins to take shape. But if you tell this to someone who fears silence, they will ridicule you. They will misunderstand you. They will try to drag you back into the noise because your stillness reminds them of the emptiness inside their own mind. Your silence becomes a threat to those who depend on distraction. So you protect it. You defend it gently but firmly. You carve out space for it in a world that constantly tries to consume your attention. You choose environments and relationships that honor your inner quiet. And slowly, you begin to realize something profound. Your silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of self. This is why the awakened never reveal the true power that silence has given them. Because once people understand that your silence is intentional, that your silence is a form of perception, that your silence is a source of strength, that your silence is a shield and a mirror and a guide, they will try to control it, manipulate it, or break it. Not out of malice, but out of fear. The unconscious fear what they cannot influence. An awakened person's silence cannot be influenced. And that makes it dangerous in the eyes of those who rely on noise to maintain their illusions. So, you keep your silence as your hidden kingdom, a place only you can enter, a power only you can wield, a freedom only you can feel. Your silence is not empty. Your silence is enlightened. And some forms of enlightenment are meant to remain unspoken. The vision you hold about reality. Awakening does something strange to the way you perceive reality. Not in the mystical, exaggerated sense people like to fantasize about, but in a quieter, sharper, far more disturbing way. You stop seeing the world as a collection of solid, unquestionable facts, and you begin to see it as a fluid, psychological construction. A reality shaped by conditioning, belief, perception, fear, desire, and unconscious habit. Most people live inside this construction without ever realizing that it is a construction. They cling to it, defend it, build identities within it, fight battles over it, and never question the invisible architecture shaping their thoughts. But the awakened? You begin to see through it. And once you see through reality, you cannot unsee it. You cannot pretend it's solid anymore. You cannot pretend life operates the way society trained you to believe. This vision, this quiet, irreversible clarity, is something you must protect. Because if you reveal it to those who still cling to their illusions, you will be treated as if you've lost touch, when in fact, you've finally gained it. The first shift that happens is that you stop confusing appearance with truth. People speak, and you hear the conditioning beneath their words. People act, and you see the childhood wound driving the action. People express opinions, and you recognize those opinions as inherited narratives rather than original thoughts. You begin to notice that most of what people call truth is simply their psychological survival strategy, their need to belong, their need to feel right, their need to avoid uncertainty, their need to protect their identity. Truth becomes a mirror, not a fact. You can't explain this to most people. If you say your truth is shaped by fear, they'll argue with you. If you say that belief is a defense mechanism, they'll deny it. If you say your worldview is not reality but a psychological pattern, they'll accuse you of being condescending. People defend their version of reality because they are defending their sense of self. To question someone's reality is to threaten their identity, and identity is the last thing the unawakened will ever let go of. Awakening also changes the way you see time. Before awakening, life feels linear. Past behind you, future ahead. Present as a thin doorway you rush through without awareness. But awakened consciousness experiences time differently. You begin to feel that the past is not behind you. It lives inside your nervous system. And the future is not ahead of you. It emerges from your present state of awareness. You realize that time is not chronological. It is psychological. The unawakened think the future will change them. The awakened understand that their state of being is what shapes the future. Try explaining this to someone who still believes their life will improve once circumstances change. They will look at you as if you're speaking in riddles. People fear the idea that reality responds to consciousness, because that means they are responsible for more of their life than they want to admit. Another part of awakening that must remain unspoken is the way you begin to see the collective mind. Not individuals, the entire psychological field of society. You start noticing how ideas spread, how emotions ripple through groups, how narratives shape behavior, how people adopt beliefs not because they've reasoned through them, but because they're afraid to stand alone without them. You see the herd dynamics everyone unconsciously participates in. You see the emotional contagion that drives public opinion. You see the way fear is used as currency. You see how society rewards conformity and punishes awareness. This vision is dangerous to reveal. If you tell someone that their beliefs are social conditioning, they feel insulted. If you tell someone that their thoughts aren't truly their own, they feel violated. If you tell someone that their worldview was scripted for them long before they ever questioned it, they will reject you before they reflect. Humans cling to illusion because illusion offers stability. And the awakened see that stability for what it is, a psychological cage. Awakening also shifts your understanding of self. You stop seeing yourself as a fixed identity and begin to feel like a fluid awareness moving through experiences. It becomes impossible to take yourself as seriously as before. Your thoughts don't feel like you. Your emotions don't feel like you. Your personality doesn't feel permanent. Your identity feels like clothing, something you can wear, but not something you are. This is liberating and terrifying. Because once you stop believing in the solidity of identity, you become free in a way most people cannot comprehend. You stop reacting. You stop personalizing. You stop carrying unnecessary suffering. You stop defending a self that no longer feels fixed. But you must never reveal this to someone who still clings to their fragile sense of self. To them, identity is existence. To question identity is to question reality. Your freedom will sound like madness. Your detachment will sound like arrogance. Your fluidity will sound like instability. People fear those who no longer play by the psychological rules they themselves are trapped in. Perhaps the most dangerous insight you must keep private is the realization that reality responds to consciousness. The awakened begin to notice that thoughts shape experience. Beliefs shape perception. Internal state shapes external events. Not in a magical, wishful thinking way, but in a grounded, psychological, cause and effect way. Your life shifts because your awareness shifts. Your relationships change because your boundaries change. Your opportunities shift because your perception widens. Your emotional reality creates your environment. You realize that life is not happening to you, you are co-creating it with every choice, every fear, every moment of presence. Try telling this to someone who believes their problems are entirely external. They will call you delusional. A sleeping mind prefers believing that life is something done to them because that belief removes responsibility. Awakened consciousness places the responsibility back where it truly belongs, inside. This truth is too heavy to hand to someone who hasn't done the inner work required to hold it. You begin to understand why the mystics, sages, and spiritual thinkers across history spoke in metaphors, stories, and riddles. It wasn't to be mysterious. It was because direct truth is too destabilizing for an unready mind. The awakened see reality as a psychological process, not a fixed structure. As a reflection, not a destination. As a field of awareness, not a collection of objects. This vision changes you, but it isolates you. Because most people are not seeking freedom, they are seeking comfort. They want truth, but only the truth that does not disturb their narratives. Awakening is disturbing. It disturbs everything. And that is why you must guard the vision you carry. You see reality differently now. You see yourself differently. You see others differently. You see society differently. This clarity is your gift, but only when used wisely. Reveal it to the wrong mind and they will call you extreme. Reveal it too early and they will dismiss you. Reveal too much and they will fear you. Some truths must be lived quietly until others are ready to hear them. The wisdom you must keep untouched. As awakening deepens, you begin to gather a kind of wisdom that feels ancient, even though it didn't come from books, teachers, or philosophies. It emerged from within you, painfully, slowly, and often against your will. It is the kind of wisdom you cannot explain without diluting it, the kind that collapses the moment you try to translate it into words, the kind that grows in silence, matures in solitude, and reveals itself only in moments of presence so quiet you almost miss them. This is the wisdom most awakened individuals protect fiercely, not out of secrecy, but out of reverence. Because the truth is this: not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of your understanding. Some people want your insight without doing the work. Some want your clarity to soothe their confusion. Some want your emotional stability to anchor their instability. Some want your direction so they don't have to face their own lostness. And some, perhaps the greatest danger, want your wisdom so they can argue with it. This is why the awakened never reveal their deepest insights to just anyone. The unawakened do not want truth. They want validation for their illusion, and your wisdom threatens that illusion. One of the most sacred forms of wisdom you carry now is the understanding that suffering has purpose. Not in a romantic sense, not in a moral sense, but in a psychological sense. Your pain forced you inward. Your emptiness forced you to look deeper. Your confusion forced you to question. Your heartbreak forced you to wake up. Awakening, at its core, is a response to suffering. Tell this to someone still trying to numb their pain, and they'll think you're justifying suffering. Tell this to someone still running from themselves, and they'll think you're minimizing their hurt. Tell this to someone who treats comfort as their compass, and they will reject the idea that discomfort can be transformative. People who haven't awakened cannot comprehend how pain can purify. And so you protect this wisdom. It is not meant for the sleeping. It is meant for those standing at the edge, those who are ready to break open. Another piece of wisdom you must keep untouched is the external world is a mirror of the internal. When you speak this truth openly, people misunderstand it as magical thinking. They think you're denying reality. They think you're oversimplifying suffering. They think you're spiritually bypassing. But the awakened know that this wisdom is not about blame. It's about perception. Life reflects what your mind refuses to face. Life amplifies the wounds you avoid. Life reveals the patterns you carry. Life repeats what you suppress. The world is not attacking you. It is revealing you. This kind of wisdom is too potent to hand out casually. When given to those who are not ready, it turns into guilt instead of empowerment. It turns into self-blame instead of self-awareness. Wisdom handed to the unready becomes poison, so you guard it. You also gain insight into the impermanence of everything. Relationships, identities, desires, beliefs, emotions, stories, even the self. Nothing stays, nothing remains, nothing lasts in the way the unawakened want it to. People cling because they fear impermanence. They believe permanence is the foundation of meaning. But the awakened understand that impermanence is the foundation of freedom. You cannot cling to what is constantly changing. You cannot suffer over what you allow to flow. But try explaining this to someone still gripping tightly to their illusions of control, and they will think you lack attachment, lack love, lack loyalty. They won't understand that your understanding of impermanence makes you more loving, not less. Because you love without possession. You love without expectation. You love without fear. This wisdom is not meant to be taught. It is meant to be lived. So you keep it untouched. Another piece of awakening that must be protected is the understanding that you are no longer who you were. This sounds simple, but the implications are enormous. Your old self is dead. Your old patterns are dead. Your old illusions are dead. Your old desires no longer guide you. Your old identity no longer fits. When the awakened try to explain this, others take it personally. They accuse you of abandoning them. They accuse you of changing too quickly. They accuse you of becoming distant, cold, unpredictable, selfish. But you're not any of those things. You have simply outgrown a self that was built to please others. You are not lost. You are transitioning. But most people are terrified of true transformation. They want change without losing themselves. They want growth without letting go. They want awakening without ego death. Your evolution confronts them with their stagnation. This is why you keep this wisdom quiet. Your transformation is not a spectacle. It is a sacred process. And sacred processes are not meant for public commentary. Perhaps the most profound wisdom you must protect is the realization that awakening never ends. There is no final state, no ultimate insight, no permanent enlightenment, no arrival, no completion. Awakening is a continuous unfolding, a peeling, a dissolving, a deepening. Every time you think you've reached the end, a new layer opens, a new truth emerges, a new illusion collapses. Tell this to someone seeking a quick transformation, a one-time epiphany, a single moment of clarity, and they'll dismiss you. They want awakening to be an event, not a lifetime. Real awakening is a lifelong process, a commitment, a surrender, a relationship with the truth that evolves every moment. This wisdom cannot be spoken casually. It must be lived quietly. Because most people don't want awakening, they want relief. And awakening is not relief. It is expansion. Expansion requires discomfort. Expansion requires loss. Expansion requires courage. This wisdom is too powerful for those who fear uncertainty. So you hold it like a flame cupped in your hands. In the end, the awakened understand something the unawakened never consider. Wisdom is not measured by how much you say, but by how much you protect. Some truths are not meant to be shared, not because they are secret, but because they are sacred. The deepest wisdom you carry was shaped by pain no one else endured for you. It was earned in moments of silence no one else sat through. It was born from dismantling illusions you once believed were real. This wisdom belongs to you. You may share pieces of it, sparks of it, shadows of it, but the core must remain untouched. Because the world is not ready to hold what you now know. And that is okay. Awakening is not about being understood. It is about being aligned. You are aligned now, not with the noise of the world, but with the truth within you. The unspoken path of the awakened soul. Awakening doesn't end with clarity. It doesn't end with insight. It doesn't end with understanding. Those are only doorways, thresholds you cross on your way to becoming someone the world no longer recognizes, but your soul finally remembers. The real transformation begins after you realize you can no longer return to sleep. Because once the illusion breaks, it stays broken. Once the veil lifts, it stays lifted. Once the truth speaks, it never goes silent again. The world looks the same, but it feels different. People speak the same words, but you hear something else beneath them. Life continues around you, but you move through it with a different kind of presence. A presence that is deeper, quieter, less reactive, more aware. This is the part no one prepares you for. Not the beginning of awakening, but the aftermath. The phase where you begin to rearrange your entire existence around a self that did not exist before. This transformation is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not demand attention. It unfolds the way dawn does. slowly, inevitably, irreversibly. You start to feel things you once ignored. You start to question things you once accepted. You start to detach from things you once clung to. You start to listen to the silence between your thoughts and realize that's where the truth was hiding all along. But the real transformation is not something you do. It's something that happens to you when you stop resisting. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop chasing validation. You stop performing identities. You stop living in reaction to other people's expectations. You stop pretending you don't feel what you feel. You stop betraying yourself for the sake of belonging. Replacing those patterns is not easy. It is not smooth. It is not painless. Transformation is a dismantling before it is a rebirth. And this dismantling will shake everything you once believed was stable. You lose people. You lose illusions. You lose identities. You lose habits that kept you comfortable but disconnected. But behind every loss is a clearing, a space being made for something truer to take root. You begin to realize you were never meant to hold everything. You were meant to carry only what aligns with the deepest part of who you are becoming. This realization is the beginning of inner freedom. Not the freedom to escape life, but the freedom to finally live it without distortion. You stop seeking permission. You stop seeking validation. You stop seeking direction outside yourself. Because the awakened no longer follow maps written by others. They navigate internally, guided by intuition, clarity, awareness, and a softness that comes from no longer needing to prove anything. This is the transformation the world cannot see but can always feel when the awakened walk into a room. Your presence changes, not because you're trying to change it, but because your energy is no longer leaking into noise that doesn't matter. You become quieter, more observant, more intentional, more aligned, more inwardly anchored in a way that feels unshakable. People sense it. Some are drawn to it. Some are intimidated by it. Some misunderstand it. Some project their fears onto it. But none of that matters anymore, because your transformation has taught you that other people's perceptions are not your responsibility. For the first time in your life, you feel sovereign within your own being. This is the transformation awakening leads to, a sovereignty that cannot be taken, manipulated, or influenced. A sovereignty rooted in self-awareness. A sovereignty born from letting go of illusions that once ruled your life. A sovereignty that allows you to be present instead of reactive, to be clear instead of confused, to be aligned instead of fragmented. And from this sovereignty emerges a deeper transformation, one that cannot be undone. You begin to love differently, more fully but with stronger boundaries. More openly, but without attachment. More authentically, without losing yourself. You begin to speak differently. Less to impress, more to express. Less to fill space, more to create meaning. Less from ego, more from awareness. You begin to think differently. Your thoughts slow down. They become spacious. You no longer drown in them. You observe them the way you observe clouds, moving, shifting, passing. You begin to suffer differently. You no longer resist pain. You let it move through you. You let it teach you instead of trapping you. You no longer fear discomfort because you've learned it is not an enemy, but a guide. You begin to exist differently. Not in isolation, but in a state of quiet connection to everything around you. And the most profound truth emerges. Awakening wasn't something that happened to you. It was something you were always meant to grow into. The transformation is not the discovery of a new self. It is the return to the self you were before the world told you who to be. This return is the real miracle. This return is the real awakening. And as this transformation settles, you realize something else. Something the unawakened may never grasp. You do not need to reveal the deepest parts of yourself to anyone. Your insights are yours. Your clarity is yours. Your wisdom is yours. Your freedom is yours. Your path is yours. And the people meant to walk beside you will recognize you without needing explanations. Your transformation will speak for itself, not through your words, but through your presence. Not through your arguments, but through your energy. Not through your teachings, but through the way you live. You are not here to convince. You are not here to explain. You are not here to justify your awakening to people who fear their own. You are here to embody it, quietly, powerfully, gracefully, authentically. So ask yourself now, if you never had to dim your truth again, how brightly would you allow yourself to exist?